All right, I want to just take this morning to finish up the whole thing on pursuit of excellence, because we just briefly touched base with creativity. And so I wanted to finish up quickly, and I hope that we have time to do another experiment. So anyway, I think I took a picture of what we had written down, some of the things that we've written down. It might be nice to go back on some of those things and say, what's some of the things that we can start doing right now, that we can make changes. So anyway, when I was doing a lot of research on creativity, I happened to find a very intriguing, it was a magazine, but it was like from Hollywood. And one of the things that was in it, it listed out, it asked this question, went to all these different personalities in Hollywood, whether they be actors or producers or directors or writers or something, and just asked them what creativity was. And it's interesting. I'm just going to give you a few. I mean, there were a lot, but I'll just give you a few. But because there's a quality about it that is worth examining a little bit. So, and here's what they said: creativity. It's what keeps me alive. Okay. It's why we're all here. So, it's connecting with something that's deep in one's soul. There's a stillness, there's a quietness, and then and through this one hears the inner voice. That's pretty interesting. So it's unique. It's a sometimes tortured, sometimes demented, sometimes humorous vision. It springs from freedom. When you feel free, you feel safe, and safety comes from love. So, I didn't even write down some of the people that said these things, but it's just putting one foot in front of the other every single day. I thought you might enjoy that one. So
sounds like my creativity.
it's letting what's inside you come through. So it feeds your soul. It's the truth within you and then accessing it. So, and it's watching children play. It's a mystery of life. And then finally, and I did write this one down. This was from Robin Williams, who has passed away, but he was, I think, one of the funniest men that ever lived, funniest men that ever lived. Just a very intriguing guy, and I loved a lot of his work. He said, something kicks in. You're in a zone. You don't know where it comes from. But it's like being in the eye of a storm. You're calm, but then all things are just stirred up. So, he just went on and on and on so fast. So nobody can keep up with it. But anyway, what do you see somewhat of a theme, no matter what the faith of these people might be? Do you see a theme from some of these answers that they give, or definitions?
It's kind of a self-expression, maybe.
A self-expression, that could be a self-expression, something else. What do you have? Any other theme that you can think of that comes from some of these definitions?
What was the question?
What?
What was your question? I didn't quite.
If there's a theme that comes through, a lot of these definitions of creativity, and Walton said that there's some self-expression. So, what else? Anybody else even?
Seems like a lot of them didn't really know what it was.
Didn't what?
Didn't know what it was.
Right, they can only kind of describe it.
Yeah, hard. It's
That's where
very
it came
difficult to
from.
describe. Yeah, it is very difficult.
Yeah.
But for me, what I think that you begin to see through is an acknowledgement that it's something beyond yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it is maybe a self-expression, but it kind of comes through self-expression. But it's something that is almost mysterious and somewhat supernatural. And so even if they don't have, they could be agnostics as far as I know, they still have to acknowledge that there's the possibility of the existence of a soul. And so in that sense, there's kind of, when you think about it, there's hope for people where there is creativity going on, because it forces people to have to dig within themselves and maybe try to find something that they're not aware of.
Are you talking about artists in general?
It happens with artists a lot, because artists are very interested in creativity. A lot of people don't, a lot of just people in regular life don't think about, how can I be creative? How can I be more creative?
Well, I have found that people that are in the artistic community, again, I don't know if this completely speaks to what you're saying, but in the artistic community, in theater and so forth, they may not be Christians, but they tend to be very spiritual.
Yes.
In the way that they look for. Often it manifests itself in New Agey stuff, but still, there's a spiritual seeking there that
And acknowledge,
Yeah.
at least an acknowledgement. I know. Go ahead, Jim.
Could it be related to the verse in Ecclesiastes that says eternity has been placed in their heart?
very good.
Yeah, that's
Whether
good.
or bad.
Whether they realize it or not. So,
Right.
and I think I don't watch the award shows at all. I kind of quit watching a long time ago. But when I was watching, I noticed that when people come up to get an award, they tend to acknowledge
Yes.
something beyond themselves. They can't help it, which is amazing. They can't. There's something about they can't help it, because it is such an amazing thing. It is. I know in Revelation when they're worshiping God in front of the sea of glass and so on and so forth, the first thing that they worship God about is that He is a creator.
Exactly.
And it's the first. It's the thing that when we are in heaven and everything's going on those days, the first thing that all the people gathering, they're worshiping God because He is the creator of everything. And so there is that connection. If we're created in the image of God, then part of that image is that we are creators. And so once you really discover from a Christian perspective what that is in your own life, it can open up. You don't know what doors it can open up, because part of what God in the pursuit of pursuing the excellence of God is to acknowledge and recognize that you have placed within me a creative ability, a creative desire, a creative soul. And so it's how do I check into that? How do I connect to that more and more as a believer? And so
I could just say something just real quick about the idea of connecting spirituality, like
Good.
creativity. In the history of museum studies, so to speak, early 20th century here in America, from until about, some would argue almost until about the 70s or 80s, you'll have this idea that if you're not a religious person, you could use art as a means to have an experience with something outside of yourself. So all of this discussion about how an aesthetic experience can be a substitute for a religious experience. So you would go into a museum context, and for example, if you think about it, you just walk into a museum, and there's no sound, the works are static, but you start putting couches out, or chairs, and you sit, and you're very quiet. And the sense that you would have a reverence in that space that you would have in a sacred space again, but you're not a believer, so I could come here
Yes.
and I could get something of what my religious friends are getting, but it's happening within this context. So there's a whole really interesting history about this whole debate between the aesthetic and religious experience, and can art serve as a way that someone could tap into that part of themselves apart from a religious context. So seeing creativity as something that can tap you into this part of you, yeah, that,
Like freeing some of that out.
yeah.
So,
There's an irony there, which is that a lot of times in those museums, what people are going to see are religious artifacts. Oh, yeah.
Oh, totally.
I know.
Totally.
yeah, half the
There's a real
artwork
irony.
is, half the artwork hanging in, and at least half the artwork
Well,
is.
hey, if you go to Florence and go to those museums, I mean, you'll be convinced that Christianity has had a tremendous impact on Western culture. It's all Christianity,
Yeah.
everything.
For centuries.
For centuries.
So,
Yeah.
well, for me, when I started, of course, I've been involved in the theater for 50 years, but when I really came to Union and started to get to the place where, boy, I have to communicate some of this to students, one of the things that I tried to find a definition for art, and there is no, it's almost like, how do I define God? And we have to define God by His attributes. We can't, and even if we list out all the attributes that we can figure out from God, still, this is God. So He's more than that. So we can't really define Him. He's indefinable. And in some ways, art is kind of the same way. So, but especially as an instrument that God uses. So for me, one of the main things that I said about art is the pursuit of truth with a capital T. And if art fails to do that, which there's a lot of art that's in a sense fails to do that, but most art, if you really begin to examine, I know most plays, you'll find what I would call the redeeming quality of that play. That there's something that they can't escape. They cannot escape, God. that he somehow comes through without them even realizing it. So you take someone like Steven Spielberg, who did E.T., and he's Jewish, okay? And for a long time he was anti-Jewish almost growing up because it was embarrassing to him. But ultimately he came back because of his mother, and so he did the show Schindler's List, dedicated to his mother. So it was a strong Jewish woman. But anyway, he does E.T., and I'm telling you, if you watch E.T. enough, you begin to see that E.T. it's a retelling of the life of Christ. You'd have to be blind not to see it, because even the advertisement for E.T., if you notice, one of the advertisements is they have E.T. touching the finger of Elliot.
Yeah.
And they've recaptured God's creation of Adam. And so I'm going, that's pretty.
Like Michelangelo's.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward here. And so there is this whole interesting thing with E.T. and his connection with, and it's interesting, he connects with a young boy whose name is Elliot, E.T. And so he makes that connection. And if you really watch the movie enough times, you see that Elliot's mother, her name is only mentioned once in the movie. Her name is Mary.
Mary.
And there is this sort of baptism of E.T. when they first find him and put him in the water. So it is intriguing that, and there's even, I think, there's a communal effort where E.T. is drinking Coors beer, and it becomes kind of the wine, and he's having, and at the same time that whatever he's feeling, Elliot is feeling exactly the same thing. And so there's sort of this they're in communion with one another. So it just goes on and on and on. And plus, he dies and he resurrects. I mean, that's pretty obvious. There's the death of E.T., and then they find out that he has DNA. So they're freaking out about it. But then he dies, and they mark his death at exactly the same time that Jesus died on the cross. They use it in military time. So, and then all of a sudden, and then they take E.T. and then they're out in this garden and inside this van, and all of a sudden the van back door is open and you see E.T. in all of his glory wrapped in this robe. So the light's shining, it's amazing. Some of these kids are just freaking out.
And in the end, he ascends.
He ascends into heaven, and I love what he says. He does this with Gertie. He tells her, he gives her advice, and he basically says, "Be good, be good," which is a parallel to, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I'm thinking about, just if everybody would just be good, what would happen to
Heaven
them?
on earth.
If we would just, every moment we're in, just be good.
Like heaven on
What did
earth.
your mama always tell you?
I know, it's not going to happen.
What did your mama always tell you when you left the house? Be good.
Be good. But then what he does with Elliot, he says, he touches him in the heart and says, "I will always be right here. I'll be your heart, be here." And then he ascends, you see a rainbow. So it's amazing. Yeah, it's an amazing film. So, and, done by a Jew. Which is very.
Do you suspect he was looking at biblical text, or just somehow he was?
I don't know the writers.
Writing
There's nothing in film is by chance. They don't do anything by chance. Everything is thought out to the infinite. And so somebody, though, whoever wrote that story,
They had to know what they
Took
were.
the cross images.
they had to know that connection. Because even at the beginning, when he first comes in contact with E.T., smoke is coming up in the kitchen, and he's had a hard time. His family's fallen apart. His father has left his mom. It's a family, and they're playing. What's the name that everybody was playing 10 years ago? Dungeons and Dragons. It's just chaos in there. Fighting over pizza, whatever it might be, and then he just has this sort of, kind of like a vision. And he goes outside, and when you go outside, you see their little shed, and there is a star right above it. And there's light coming out of the shed. So he goes in there and finds E.T. It's an amazing film. It's worth looking. And I love, so the other guy that I like a lot is Gary Lucas. George Lucas. I like Gary Lucas too, but George Lucas. And this is one of the profiles of creativity is persistence and tenacity. So it's going beyond the word no. So no, we can't do that, or no, this is not going to happen. So you have this tenacity and persistence to make it happen, to just want to make it happen so much. And for us, it's almost like the miraculous we've sort of put out in the street someplace, because it doesn't happen. So no, it's not going to happen. So maybe it should. So maybe it should happen more. And one thing, George Lucas, his first big hit was a movie called American Graffiti. So how many people have seen that film? Bits and pieces of it. It's a very interesting film. It's worth watching because it all takes place just in one evening. So, and it's in some town in California, and it's just the way high school. These are high school people moving on. They're about to go to college. So this is their kind of last ditch high school stuff. But the thing is, nobody wanted to produce this film. he took it to everybody, and nobody else knows. And they gave him 2 reasons why this film would never be produced. He said, first, it has 4 different stories simultaneously happening at the same time in the movie.
A lot of
So
novels
we
do
only
that.
just do one story at a time.
This is
Film can't do 4 stories at a time. We can only do one. And the other thing about it that they hated is that there was a musical montage soundtrack like an opera in the film. Because there's, one of the characters is the guy that's the DJ. They're all listening to the radios. They're all listening to the same. So this music is just coming, and it's what drives the film in a sense. And so, but it was impossible. They said for that to happen. The music is always just the background. It's not the main thing of the film that drives it.
That's why it was so popular.
Yes.
What?
And the nostalgia of that music was why it was so popular.
I know people ate it up because that's music they knew.
But do you remember what year this?
Do what?
What year was this out?
It was set in like the early '60s.
Early 60s.
So, when music was really rock and roll was really taking off. And who's the guy? I can't remember his name. He's in the movie. You don't ever see him, but you hear him. He's a DJ. Huh?
Wolfman Jack.
Huh? Wolfman Jack. Yeah. He just, hey, we are out here tonight, and we're gonna have a good time. Just listen to some real music, and so he was going on and on and on. So it's just. But what's interesting, he finally gets somebody that raises enough money, gets enough money to be able to make the film.
1973.
1973, okay, yeah, early, that is when the best music was coming out of all time.
Well, that's when it was made.
That's when it was made.
That was when it was made. It was set around 1960.
Yeah, set in the 60s.
Buddy Holly was dead. They mentioned Buddy Holly dead.
Yeah, yeah.
So 60 or a little later.
But anyway, what's happened to film since this film was made?
That's what they do all.
It does it
I
all.
know, it's like it's become the main thing that people do.
It was exactly the same thing with The Big Chill.
Yeah.
Soundtrack anyway.
Soundtrack, huge,
Multiple
and then you
stories.
just get into the different life of the different people in the background, so it's like 4 stories going on at the same time, I mean, I think it happens on television now also. We've
Maybe
been
more so,
watching a lot of Blue Bloods, and there's always 4 different things that are going on at the same time in that, that's in an hour show. I'm going, I believe. So, and then we start watching Longmire, and it's like, can't keep up. So, there's just so much going on. So anyway, it's that tenacity. He just knew it was going to be successful, and he believed it, and so he just fought. He would not take no for an answer. So he just kept being, just persistent over and over. So,
I'm thinking of the spiritual application of this is really swelling in my heart is the unrighteous judge. The lady kept coming to him. He said, she is worrying me to death. I'm going to give her what she wants. But then faith was the same way. We have not because we ask not. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So we keep asking. We keep asking. We don't quit.
keep being persistent. Yeah.
God's messages
That's
through
what
that
Well,
parable.
that's why it's part of creativity.
Yeah,
It's part of
don't
creativity
give up.
that God loves is a tenacious believer who keeps after it.
Absolutely.
So it's they just don't take no for an answer. So I'm not going to believe in Jesus. So I heard this was amazing to me. I wasn't a Christian at the time, but I started going to this Bible study, and I was there. I was attacking them. I was questioning everything that they were saying. And finally, this young man who was younger than me, he's sitting across from me. We're in a room, the coffee table's there. He just stands up all of a sudden and just points right in my face. He says, "I claim you in the name of Jesus." So you're going to get right with God. He just let me have it. I'm just shocked back.
He was a prophet.
Oh man, yeah. So within weeks, I'm on my face before God, praying, "God, please have mercy on me."
If we get your attention with it.
He didn't give up. He just and he wound up becoming an evangelist, which you knew he So, so anyway, that's it's the way it is. The other thing about creativity is it requires support. So, and this is critical support. So engagement of different people to come in with your ideas and see what you could do to work on them and make them better. And just, I mean, it requires a boost of morale, if you would. So in order to be, so in order to have friends that are on your side, or mentors that are there to try to kind of guide you through, it requires that. And who's the greatest mentor that we have? His name is Jesus. I mean, what a mentor, if you think. So if we just pay attention oftentimes to things like that, where the parable that he talks about, and he says, keep on knocking. Don't stop knocking on the door. Just to keep it up.
Perseverance.
Perseverance. It's perseverance. It requires that. And creativity, that's part of creativity. So, and then I love this. It's once you find yourself as part of the establishment, is to shift course. So not let the establishment define you.
Not let the world press you into its mold.
That's exactly right. And so many times in church, so many times in Christians, they want to, let's adjust, okay? We need a youth minister who's willing to take pies in the face. Because that draws young people.
Maybe we should try something radical. Let the youth minister teach scripture. That'd be a new approach.
It's shifting course.
That's crazy.
You think that's why people in the artistic community can sometimes be countercultural?
I think so too. Because the whole, that's another definition of art. If it's not offending someone, it's probably not art.
I think you see this too, like in a lot of musicians. Like the main one coming to mind is Bob Dylan. Like he changed his style like every couple of albums, and it ticked off that group of fans like every single time.
When he added electricity to his music, I mean, people just were burning his albums.
Like his folk fans only like his folk albums, and then his rock fans like and they hate everything. It's funny to watch how that happens.
And when he goes on Saturday Night Live and sings, "You Got to Serve Somebody," so he's just kind of freaking out the whole group. What do you mean, serve somebody? I mean, yeah, it's right. I mean, it's just a thing. I mean, I think it's got, the wind blows where it will. We don't know where it comes from, where it's going to go. So we have to have that sort of mentality from a creative point of view in our relationship with God, to just be aware of the Holy Spirit blowing us wherever He needs us to go. And just start out the day in some ways and say, God, I don't know what's going on today. What I need to do, I'm just going to trust you, and I want to know you every moment. I want to see your creativity coming through me every moment. It's not easy. In fact, it's almost impossible. So, but it's worth the pursuit. So for creativity. So the other thing, creativity, and I like this. This kind of comes from Francis Schaeffer, is to be able to place your life within a broader context or frame. So it's like reconciling who you are with this framework, this worldview, this frame of reference that is beyond you. It's placing yourself. So we know we are members, family of we're part of the family of God. And so that is the broad context. I mean, I can't even comprehend it. We were talking about that the other day. How many Christians are now in heaven as part of the great cloud of witnesses?
Very appropriate for today. It's All Saints Day.
It's All Saints Day. I
Yesterday
mean,
was-
how many saints are all?
All of them.
I mean, what's the number?
Saints.
Yeah, we can't even grasp the number. And yet, they're part of the crowd of witnesses that are looking down on our lives saying, man, keep it up. You don't have that much further to go. You're getting so close.
Don't quit now.
Don't quit now. Keep the tenacity going, man. Keep it moving. Keep it shaking it up. Keep telling people about your experience with Christ or whatever it might be. So, and keep praying prayers that honor God. So, I mean, it's necessary to place ourselves within this bigger work, which is a little bit easier to do in something like theater, because you start doing a play and you start explaining to them the power and significance of this play, and how we all have to place our mind and our thoughts and everything into it, and just all get going in the same direction, and just make sure that we are a family, that we're together, that we love one another, and that we're working towards some goal that's way beyond us, because it's greater. The end work is greater than the addition of all the things that we do. And I think that applies directly to Christianity. What happens is going to be greater than the amount of people that are involved in it. The end result is greater. And God wants us to have that. Real quick, I'm going to get away. I'm going to talk about some of the limitations on creativity. And they asked them that question, what keeps you from being creative? What limits you? And I love some of them. Self-criticism and self-consciousness. So cash, greed, money. So ego, idolatry, too much success. So a lack of hope. So worry. So comfort, censorship, fear, formulas, apathy keeps you from being creative. Maturity, because you lose the sense of wonder. So negative people. That's it. If you want to be a failure in life, surround yourself with as many negative people as you possibly can. They will drag you down. And then when you find them and you say, hey, I'm sorry, I got to move on, it just disappoints them to the back. Oh, I thought we had one. I like this. Neglect kills it. So lack of honesty, that came from Tom Hanks. I like this one. The telephone ringing. If you ever notice, I mean, you might be right in the middle of some kind of interesting conversation and you're really getting into something. Ring. So I got to take this. You never go back to what you got going on. And now it's gotten so much more complex because our phone becomes our modern day 6-shooter. So we have a holster we carry it in, so we're quick on the draw. Well, I can't kill you, but I can take a video of you killing me.
But I can say some bad things about you.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, those are things. So here's another one: inhibition and fears. Okay, the fear of making mistakes is one of the things that destroys creativity. So, and we would say, I can't do that. I would look like an idiot. So what? You are an idiot. That's what I finally discovered about myself. Of course I'm going to look like an idiot, because why? I'm an idiot. And I'm constantly being an idiot, it seems like. So, I mean, constantly. So, and then we also set limits on our success. We're so afraid of it that we limit it. And so, by doing that, and that's it. In order to be good at something, you first have to be bad at it. You have to start out being bad. You didn't become a good tennis player the first day you started playing tennis. How long did it take? So all of high school, I mean, you're always learning something. There's something about it. So, and here's a big thing that we have. I want to feel safe. You hear this all the time. Oh God, I want to be in a place that I feel safe. Maybe you shouldn't feel so safe. Maybe you should feel like, man, there's stuff closing in on me.
Sometimes in doing whatever God's called you to do, whatever it is, I mean, you may not feel safe.
I know exactly.
You may be out in a weird situation, whatever.
And so we say sometimes I can't do this. I can't do something. And the reason we say that is because we can't guarantee that we can do it correctly. Or we can do it right. So we just refuse to do it. So, and that is what limits your creative ability, is to be afraid to jump into something even if you don't know what's going to happen. It involves risk. So, and I feel like risk and faith are very similar words, because the definition of risk is doing something where you don't know what the outcome is going to be, but you do it anyway. Mostly we think risk, but I want to know exactly how it's going to turn out. I'm taking a risk here, but I know exactly how it's going to turn out. It's not really a risk, is it? So a risk means I'm trying something I have no idea how this is going to turn out. It's like improvisational life. So, and not being afraid to just jump out there and do it, take a risk and see what happens. So what limits is culture is also lends once we get connected with society's limitations on us, culture's limitations, it keeps us from being creative. So I'll read this real quick. It says, we believe that playfulness is for children only. We need a sense of festivity and humor in order to nurture creativity. We only want creativity if it fulfills a utilitarian function. We want to do something, but we think it needs to be the right something, by which we mean something important. And we want to do something, but it's not what we do that's important, it's who we are. So we are what's important. And especially in the community of God, we are His henchmen, it says. We are His body. We are His arms and His hands and His feet and His voice on earth. And so we should acknowledge the significance of how important that is, and how necessary it is, and how rewarding it is, and how it will take you in a place that may be as unsafe as it can possibly be. Think about the incarnation of Jesus Himself. Just becoming a human being is like, I'm throwing off all my safety. I'm setting aside so many of my attributes that make me the creator of everything. I'm setting them aside, and I'm gonna go into earth as a baby in a manger, in a building behind the motel. So,
An example from Scripture to back up what you're saying. When God creates the animals and then He creates man, He charges man with naming the animals. And it says specifically that whatever Adam decided to call them, that was its name. Right? So there's like an interplay here where God, it's not like He's letting Adam pretend that He's naming the animals. No, He actually is
actually doing it.
Allowing Adam to determine what they are,
Right.
and almost there's sort of an interplay where God is using man to almost determine reality. You know.
I love their. Mark Twain wrote a very interesting it's a little play called Adam and Eve. And I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's not, it takes a lot of liberties, okay? But one of the things I love about it is that they start trying to name the animals, and Adam he's really upset with Eve because he says every time I'm about to name an animal, she says, it's a kangaroo. And I go, how do you know it's a kangaroo? She said, it looks like a kangaroo. And what's that? It's a giraffe. How do you know it's a giraffe? It looks like a giraffe. Somebody's going, oh boy.
You know, I've noticed that some different countries in South America, of course, they name their animals, but you might have the same bird or something in two different countries, but they have different names.
Yeah.
But whatever the name is, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Some people know it.
But what a creative gift, if you think about it, to sit and watch. I don't know. I mean, is he naming not just the animals, but little fleas, different kind of flies?
They didn't have fleas at the beginning.
Yeah, that didn't happen until after the fall.
That came after the fall.
All of a sudden,
Fleas.
whoa, the world is changing. We screwed up bad.
Adam named Eve.
Yeah, that's right. Adam and Eve.
Yeah, Adam, yeah, he did.
Well, that's someone said that's the shortest poem of all time, and the poem goes like this. If the title of the poem was called Fleas, and the poem goes like this: Adam had 'em.
Adam had him.
That's the poem. If you want to memorize a poem today, you got it. Yes.
Michelle Silverstein, I think.
Yeah, I think Shel Silverstein wrote that poem. So anyway, so it's but yeah, it's culture. It's we've never done it this way before.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you should try something new. Try to something
Always
different.
done it.
So, and again, we talked about this before. God is a God of variety. We are beings of conformity. And God is a God of variety. And man, what a joy it is to know that. And to let that be part of, so. Yeah, I love what this guy, he was a scientist, and he would have part of what they do, they always had dinner together, and he had children, and his thing at dinner was, he would look at his child and say, did you ask any good questions today? So he was forcing his kids to ask questions. So, what about this? So, I mean, to force the teacher to answer them, so it was pretty good. It's not a bad thing. So to say, okay, how many questions are we asking today? So that only God can answer. So that's kind of what prayer is in some ways, isn't it? Asking God something without knowing whether He's going to do it or not. And see if He will. So another thing that kills creativity is laziness. Being lazy. So creativity takes energy, it takes enthusiasm, it takes initiative, it needs the spirit that originates action involved in it. So it involves action. It's just learning how to be. I'm God's child. I mean, for crying out loud, what does that mean? It means I should be able to get up and go. So even when I don't feel like it, even when everything is telling me to just not, so maybe at that point it's time to go. So just being creative. And I wish we had more time to get into some of these other things of how to free creativity. Here's the last one I'll give you two. As gray, as controlled, as dreamless as we may strive to be, the fire of our dreams will not stay buried. The embers are always there, stirring in our frozen souls like winter leaves. They won't go away. They're sneaky. You make cozy doodles at a boring meeting. We post a silly card on an office bulletin board. We nickname our boss something wicked. We plant twice as many flowers as we need. And so it's just life. And life is creative. And so I think sometimes we're missing out on a lot of opportunities that God has laid out in front of us. We were talking about the baseball game last night. And you get the bases loaded with one out. You can't get the runner in. somehow you have failed.
They weren't being creative.
I know, that's right. Find a creative to do it. I mean, butt him in or something, or squeeze butt, something, anything. So, just make sure you get that run in. If all they had to do is do that one thing, a long fly ball, even if it was caught, would have scored the run, they would have won the World Series. So instead of this sneaky Hollywood type Dodgers. Not again.
Definition
What'd you say?
of baseball.
That's right. Well, that's all I got. I mean, I know it's way past time to go.